I'm Emily.
And we're also joined by a special guest, but I have something I have to introduce him with. That's right. We have the one Ken Kacey joining us today. Welcome, Ken. Thanks for coming on the show.
Oh my God! Thank you so much for having me. I am a first-time caller, long-time listener. Been listening to you guys since you were part of that second-rate operation up in the Northeast. So I'm excited to be here.
Upgraded.
I love it. No, for those who don't know, Kenny is basically my brother from another mother. I've known him since like 1925. We've watched wrestling. We've watched Rumbles together. The unfortunate Rey Mysterio winning the Royal Rumble, and the only thing that got us through was we were so delirious watching Family Guy and giggling like a schoolgirl over Stewie massacring Brian over his money. So every time I see Family Guy, that's all I can think of. Yeah, orange juice. You got my money? You got nothing but a fake mustache.
Yeah.
So he definitely. It's funny. We've never actually gone to a wrestling event together. I realized that when I was making my notes. I was like, we've never gone to a wrestling event ever.
No.
Even those crappy indies in Rochester that I went to.
Yeah. What a shame. Well, so I guess we'll have to do it next time.
I was gonna say you're down in NOLA. They got some good wrestling events. Tennessee's kind of close. This is always good wrestling in Tennessee. Memphis.
Yeah, why not? We'll meet in the middle somewhere.
So what's your wrestling fandom like for those who don't know? Because I know obviously I grew up watching with you. What's your wrestling fandom like?
So I grew up in the '90s. I'm a huge Attitude Era. That's where my pride is. I also watched. I fell out of it around the early 2000s. Kind of picked it back up late 2000 teens, and then now I kind of just watch it every once in a while. I don't watch any AEW or anything like that, but it's just kind of every once in a while I watch pay-per-view, and it's kind of like my comfort thing to watch when I don't have anything else to watch.
I was gonna say, yeah, real randomly text me, hey, I'm watching Bad to the, was it Bad Blood 1997? This is what happened. I'm like, yeah, I love it. That you just go back and watching these old Carney pay-per-views that you're like, that was so great when I was a kid. And you're like, dear God, that was the worst thing I've ever seen. And I've seen Battle of Earth.
I like to just pick a random era or random year, and I go, oh, what's going on? I have no idea, no storyline whatsoever. Just these two guys are fighting for some reason. All right, cool. And I realized that during the teen years when Sheamus was big, or I didn't watch any of that. So seeing the Rumble when all these people came in, I'm like, I don't know who the core is. I don't know who any of these people are, but it's still entertaining to watch the match, watch the the slight snip of the storyline. Is always all right, cool. I'll root for that guy then, even if I don't know him.
I agree. I know Emily's favorite thing is always the Kofi spots. They're always, the women, the athletic spots. But like you said, the Royal Rumble is always super cliche because it always has the one person who comes in and cleans house. It always has the person who gets attacked and their numbers go in. It always has, like you said, the seeds planted for that next story. Or the tag team that they're going to work together. Oh my God, they turned on each other.
Right.
Well, there's so much. And I think that's why these are fun to do. Like last week, we bitched about the worst Rumbles, and they were pretty bad, including like the one you mentioned, 2011 with the core. But I think today we picked 3 Rumbles that we thought were good and decent, and kind of go over those. There's still going to be some rants, I'm sure. But I know the Royal Rumble is my favorite match trade.
They're definitely my favorite. There's always way too much going on in such a good way.
And it's crazy to think that it's like the 35th freaking Rumble this year. I'm like, I don't feel old at all.
Yeah, it's so crazy because, watching them back, it didn't take long until, I remember watching this, this one live, and it's only the 4th one. I shouldn't remember that live. Like, I don't feel old, but that's clearly a long time ago.
No, it's definitely cool to kind of go back. That's what we did here. You know, the first one, I was really racking my brain to try to figure out, okay, what Rumble do I really remember? I know you and I were talking on the phone, texting about how it's who the winner is. If you remember the winner, and if you like the winner, because if the winner is Alberto Del Douchebag, you don't really care. But
Right.
I think the trend from our Rumbles is the winner was decent, the participants were halfway decent, or there was some fun spots. So I think that's why the first one that we chose, 1998, I chose it. It was the beginning of the Attitude Era, but also kind of like the height of it. So I think it was just fun. I think it was just, and it was the 90s. I think that's when wrestling really peaked for me. So that's why I chose 1998. So obviously 1998 is one of the more memorable Rumbles because first of all, we had that awful 90s friggin' music intro that they got going on.
Like, oh, the colors, the intro, everything is so like retro 90s, like, bright colors. All the characters are all bright.
I was just waiting for like a Lisa Frank commercial to show up like highlighters.
I wish.
Yeah.
Or like Mike Colby interviews one, and also check out the WWF.com slap bracelet. Slap bracelets.
Oh, you can chat with them live right now on WWE.com.
Don't forget to you can also, what was it, 10-10-220 collect call. You know, like all those old vintage ones.
Oh, 1998 was whatever, brought to you by 1-800-COLLECT.
That's what I remember. I saw that commercial. Oh my god, I remember when you were like, all right, I'm at the mall, I gotta call my parents. I don't have a call card. Okay. So you have to do the, hey, it's Bob, we had a baby eats a boy, or you have to call that 1-800-COLLECT and they still get billed. So you got screwed either way.
You know, I realize that there's probably people listening that don't understand what a payphone is, what a collect call is, and it's super sad.
We found one in the Bahamas. Emily was super excited.
I think I took a picture of it.
We're like, it's a relic from a lost civilization.
Yeah. Is this a museum?
Cam really knows what quarter phone is.
I can't wait until the generation that's making fun of us now realizes that the things they think are cool now, and they realize how are like, oh, you still listen to an MP3 player? What do you mean? What's wrong with an MP3 player?
You mean your phone isn't virtual?
Right? Like, so you have a chip embedded in your eyeball? Like,
Yeah.
How do you talk on the phone?
But who would have thought Go Gadget? Who would have thought Go Gadget phone become a real fucking thing? Because you can get like a Bluetooth speaker on your pinky, and you can get like an antenna on your thing. You can literally like, Go Gadget phone. Like, yeah, Papa John's. Yeah, I want the shakaroni.
Oh, jeez. Do you remember there's an episode of Futurama when they are collecting people's like phone data through eyeball stuff? So it's only a matter of time.
Right. Well, speaking of time, I don't want to derail us too much. I'll segue back to 1998 since we were going off on the awful retro commercials.
I was 8 years old for reference.
Jeez.
Thanks a lot. I didn't already feel old. We were not quite 12 yet. We were 11 around this time.
Yeah.
Because we're not that old. Me. But I just was gonna say, because obviously the first person to come out was Cactus Jack, and I was always a huge Foley mark because I remember seeing him in WCW. He was the crazy guy that would DDT you off the apron. He would literally just run at you and throw his body into the guardrail. Like, he just didn't care about himself. And then, you heard the rumors about the death matches, and I remember not really having friends who watched wrestling besides WWF, so I was like, I don't know how to get a hold of these tapes. I didn't see his death matches until I was an adult, so I kind of wish I go back in time. Like, yeah, go to Berman's video on Rochester. They probably have the wrestling video back there somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually watched him in some of his Japanese stuff. He had done some, and my dad had gotten like pay-per-views when I was younger. So like that was my first intro to him. But then I didn't know him until he finally came out in WWE or WWF, and that's when I was, oh, it's that one guy.
See, if I wasn't scared of your dad, I probably could have asked him, because if you needed a weird videotape, his dad had it. It didn't matter what kind of level of weird, whether it was a fetish, whether it was gore, whether it was wrestling.
No, let's not have them like, FBI kicking in his door. He's not that kind of weird videotape guy. Right?
No, I don't mean like not illegal. I'm just saying,
right.
If you want to
Thank
see
you.
like,
disclaimer on that one.
Hey, do you want to see the new Bloodsport movie? Yeah, I do. All right, here it is. Here's the dubbed version of it.
Yeah. That he was very advanced.
I was getting concerned.
No, he was a pirate amongst his early days of pirating.
I wasn't even saying he
movies and stuff.
I was saying he. I just like he had the act.
he could get to him. Yeah.
I was just gonna say he was like the MacGyver. Like your brother was the MacGyver fixing things, setting things up. Your
Correct.
dad was the MacGyver. I will find this for you. Like, I really want to watch the WCW review.
He knew.
I will find it for you.
He knew a guy that knew a guy, or he could find a way to get to it. Yeah.
Which
also not
your
that
brother had helped out our next entrant, Chainsaw Charlie, because he needed to have a chain on his chainsaw. And I know you can't because of kayfabe and everything, but we got Terry Funk kind of come out, be all intimidating with that weird sock on his face, waving the chainsaw with no chain on it, and the fans are just like,
no music, no music.
Okay.
Right. I love Cactus Jack comes out. Yeah, always throwing out chairs.
Yeah, they're throwing everything they can into the ring, and it's like, this is a Rumble, right? It was great.
I love when Rumbles get hardcore. Love it.
I just think it was funny that I can't picture Terry Funk, because all I picture is he can't walk. Because I remember the Beyond the Mat scene when he's like at the doctor's in his underwear, and he's like, the size of a beach ball. Like he's just, and it's like, poor man. Like Emily said, there's chairs being thrown in the ring. Yeah, like they're already like, all right, we're going back to our Japanese days here. We're about to kick this off and kill each other. And you're like, oh god. And
then but he takes a chair shot. Good God, it is brutal. I like the old stanky leg. Ooh.
Yeah, he's like getting ready to fall over, and you just see Cactus kind of watching him sell, and then they're just beating the shit out of each other until you have, I don't even know, Tom Brandy. I didn't even know who that was. But I did some research on him, and apparently he was basically like Vince's version of a wise guy, because every character Vince had was a stereotype. It was always a super offensive stereotype of some sort. So
definitely in this time.
You definitely have a guy who, looks like a wise guy, looks like a mafia guy, and they're like, oh, he's going to be an Italian guy. He's going to say funny things like pasta and fazool. So he lasted all of 12 seconds, which is longer than his career, because I couldn't find anything on him. Then you had a Young Rock come out, which, man, only The Rock can make The Rock look tiny, because goddamn, that dude's just transformed.
Oh my goodness! I actually showed Sam a picture of that. Like, look how big he is now and how tiny he was. Like, even at his debut, like, holy moly, that guy is gigantic now.
It's crazy to look back and see how different he is. Everybody says Ricky Starks looked like a young Rock, and I'm like, I didn't see it until this pay-per-view, because I think of The Rock as Maui, big, giant.
I feel old when you think of The Rock as Maui. Like, you couldn't have gone Scorpion King. Like,
yeah, right. Damn.
He comes out, and then it's obviously kind of, man, it gets really cartoony here, because then you have Mosh come out, which I never understood the Headbangers gimmick. Like, cool, you like that music, but your style makes no fucking sense of the music you listen to.
It's weird. I thought about them because, like, it's the same thing. Like, they're so ridiculous. It's like, this was just a ridiculous character. And, but then I thought about, like, WWF Warzone, and they were a playable character. And it's like, of all the people that are around during that time, they got chosen. And I don't know if it's just because they already looked like generic, like, creative characters, or like because they actually had some talent. But I was like, maybe I need to give them a little bit more respect. They made a video game of, like, 12 characters you could play. They were one of them. So I know I thought like, look at these guys, I'll just shit on them. But I was like, I'll give them a little bit of props. They made a video game. Whatever.
Emily loved him in WrestleMania. Royal Rumble 2000 when he had the Madonna fuzzy boobs.
I was like, look, I could dress up as that. I'll run outside. I'll grab the decorations.
It was like, it reminded me of that scene from Hocus Pocus when she tried to be Madonna and she had like the road cones. I just feel like that's where he was like, bet that's where I'm going to get my look from. And then you had one of the Godwin brothers come out. God, I forgot about these pig farmers, man.
They made the best comment when he was coming out.
What did they say?
A biscuit away from 315. That's some shit. Can you imagine?
Not only did I also write that down, but the rest of it is, and it's living proof of what happens when cousins marry. That's the rest of that quote. Yeah, they just shit on him immediately.
I was like, that is so harsh. I could not. I would be so angry when I went out back. I'd have to get a biscuit.
Right?
Yeah.
I hate you all.
You're missing. Right before that happens, though, Chainsaw Charlie misses the most god-awful moonsault in the history of moonsaults. Like, it is Brock Lesnar shooting star press level garbage. So bad. So bad.
I don't even know why he attempted it because there was not even like lift on it. It was kind of like he just flopped.
Yeah.
I was just more shocked that not only did he get shit on that hard, but he stayed in the match for like half an hour. Like
he did. He lasted a really long time.
And like he just didn't do anything. He just ran around in his overalls, kind of just like I don't even know. Like he'd go up, he'd do like a move, he'd get tired and run away. Like I don't understand. I never thought the Godwins were good characters. I never understood about, I guess, how they were ever like a threat in the tag team division. Because at one point you had them feuding against LOD. You're telling me that Legion of Doom is scared of two cousin pig farmers from Alabama? Like,
yeah, well, they got slop bucket. You know, that's.
Oh yeah,
they're big. They get to stay in there longer. You didn't know that?
No, yeah, we all know Vince's obsession with big hard manly nipples.
And cocaine.
Yeah, because the next guy, 8-Ball, Emily literally first thing she goes, is this named after a pool or Coke? And I was like, damn, that took a turn. Probably both.
Yeah, knowing what we know now, absolutely both.
I was like, Vince McMahon making it snow in 1998.
I was like, oh, I really need a name for this guy. I got it.
Right. And this is, I think, where my first kind of complaint with why I hated when they were switching eras. Like, everyone talks about how great the New Gen era was. Don't get me wrong. Like, I loved Diesel and Shawn Michaels. Like, there was a lot of aspects I liked about the early 90s, but I hated the cartoony characters. And, like, this is when it got ridiculous. I'm like, oh, it's a two twin bald guys in a biker gang. Like, oh, it's just, everything was so over the top. Like, you had Repo Man at one point. You had the Goon. Like, what's that? Bash and Booger. Like, you had all these awful over the top.
But you know who didn't get one of those at first?
Who?
JBL, who came out next with that amazing facial hair.
If
he would have stayed looking like that, he might have gone somewhere. He looked so different in every Rumble we watched.
Oh, no, listen.
He
came out looking like a bag of milk with a mustache. All right, and he's just clubbing people down. All right, he needed to get rid of that thing so fast.
I like that his goatee was literally a perfect circle. Like, it was legit, not that shitty band, like, but it was legit a perfect friggin' circle. Like, calm down, Maynard. I'm talking about your band, but like, I was just so shocked that I've never seen it connect like that. Like, usually it's like a little bit of like gap here, or it's like a little thinner. No, it was like I'm just gonna draw this on. He just kept going. He just kept going, and then she goes, "How many gimmicks does he have?" I'm like, "Well, he had this." Then he went to the Acolytes, like spooky guys with writing on his chest. Then they became drinkers that were also called Acolytes, and then he became a rich cowboy. Like, he didn't know what to do. But I think this was like right after he became a first-time cowboy, went to the Brawl for All, and still got his ass kicked.
Yeah.
But then we have Owen Hart, speaking of cliches, gets attacked, can't go in. He gets taken out. Good old Jeff Jarrett and fucking Jim Cornette.
Yeah, the sound of Jim Cornette hitting him with that tennis racket sounds pretty good.
So Mike Tyson was constantly advertised the entire time because he was there. I don't know the story to time, but all I kept seeing was Mike Tyson.
Because they were setting up, because they had been teasing he was a super fan and he was going to be at WrestleMania 14 with, obviously, spoiler, the eventual winner of Austin and Michaels. But yeah, they kept showing him with Shane Man. God, Shane Man looked like a little kid in that press box with him.
I didn't realize
he
it was
did.
Shane. I wasn't paying that much attention to that part.
But I do like that when Cornette came out and hit him with that tennis racket, that I said that King called him the stain on the underwear of life. That was another good King line that I caught. He's like, Jim Cornette's the stain on the underwear of life.
Oh, yeah. Oh, one thing that the King said when they were talking about Mike Tyson, he said that he's like, what's Mike Tyson, 5'11"? If I hit him with one of my uppercuts, he'd be 6'5". Another great classic, King line.
No, it was great. I think that's why I remember enjoying this Rumble so much, because this is when they were letting them shit on the characters and kind of because at one point they kept calling Tom Brandini, not to go backwards, they kept calling him a different name. There was other characters they would, like Chainsaw Charlie, they would keep calling him Terry Funk.
Right.
They'd be like, oh, that's the Funker. Even they were like, we're not keeping Kayfabe for these awful gimmicks.
Speaking of Chainsaw, let me tell you, he had so many close calls.
He did.
Here's the thing that I wrote down. I wrote it down probably 4 times about him, right? He no-sells The Rock the entire time. The Rock hits him and he just takes it. At one point, old Black Jack has him outside of the ring. He's dangling by his feet. He's just fixing his mask as JBL is just kicking him. No selling everything, just let me fix my mask. And then we'll eventually fall back in the ring. Did not give a damn about anybody else.
That's probably how he stayed in there.
Yeah, well, and that's when King said the line, it doesn't matter if you have that mask on your face, we still know it's you, Terry.
Yep.
And then after Jeff Jarrett and Cornette take out Owen, you have Steve Blackman who come out. And did you know, Kenny, he's a bounty hunter now in real life?
I did not.
Yeah, up in Green Bay area, so maybe Quaid might be friends with him, but he's a legit he's a legit bounty hunter now, and I'll have to find the video repost on our socials. But I would not want fucking Steve Blackman chasing me down. Imagine you're on the run and you just hear after me.
Yeah.
So now there's 8 guys wrestling in the ring, and typically there's not this many people in there at once. It was chaos.
And that's what I enjoy about the Rumbles. I enjoy when they fill up. I can't stand when someone just dominating for the entire match. It's oh yeah, you're just on this person now. Oh, so glad you came. It's like that song came. I'm glad you came.
It's funny because I wrote that down on every Rumble we picked. We did it happens every single one of them. Every single one of them it happened. And I hate it too. I hate it so much because what's the point of doing it? I like when there's a ton of people in there. I hate when it's one guy. I didn't like it when Austin did it, when Undertaker did it, when Roman Reigns did it, when Brock did it. If it's for 3 people or if it's for 20 people, I hate when it's done. I hate it. It ruins the whole thing.
And then especially if it's a fan favorite coming out, you're yeah, and then he gets thrown out 3 seconds later. You're well, that sucks. And it's one of those, it made the list. I was trying to think of what's Rumble cliches, and that was the number one. There's always that person who stands tall and has to CM Punk it. They have to I'm going to dominate this match. There's always that person who goes under and hides for a while, or they pull an X-Pac and they just hug the bottom rope and pretend no one can see them.
That's what I would do.
The X-Pac?
I would hide.
Oh, I was going to say,
hey, he's
I don't know if I wrote
European champion. He's European champion.
Then you have
one of the many greats.
Speaking of greats, D'Lo, he was pretty much only known for being European champion and doing so many times. He comes out, so you know it's going to be a Nation reunion because at this time this is like around when the Nation and DX had like just finished their great feud, minus the whole racist DX making fun of them part, but they had a really good rivalry. And you had The Rock, you had Farouk, you had The Godfather, you had Mark Henry, D'Lo Brown. So you definitely had a dominant faction, but tensions were starting to be teased. And even the King was like, whose side is D'Lo's on? And D'Lo stays away from him. And then you have one of the greatest, most underrated factions, one of the biggest guys with the faction come out. Someone who should be in the Hall. I'm just kidding. You have Kurgan come out next. But who doesn't love the Oddities? I mean, I love the Oddities. I was a huge fan of them.
One of my favorite theme songs to this day.
ICP, how can you go wrong? It's on my list, though. I want to play Name That Tune to Emily sometime with wrestling music, and that's always on my list. Just because just when it starts out, it's going to be a banger.
Oddly enough, I draw while we're all talking, and I drew this weird ICP style eye, and I did not know.
She's not superhuman. She's not juggalo and juggalette. Whoop whoop. But fun fact about Kurgan, and I know I sent it to you yesterday. I was like, whatever happened to him? Dude just became a stunt / actor. So he played the big villain from the boss fight in 300, the probably only memorable thing he did. And then he played the guy in jail in Deadpool 2. So that's kind of cool that he got at least one out there because he's a big boy. He was 7 foot tall something. And you can tell they were really trying to push him as is he the next Andre the Giant? Because I feel like Vince always wanted that, who's my next 7 foot tall monster?
Almost.
Yeah.
No,
but when Andre talked, when Andre talked, you could sort of understand what he was saying. You couldn't understand the thing that Kurgan was saying. That was he screamed in vowels. He screamed like music back in the 90s. All right. All in vowels.
What is it? The Darius Rucker joke? A-A-I-O-U.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. My favorite vowels are A-E-I-O-U.
And then you have Mr. Sable. You have Mark Marrow come out. And this was when he was in that championship prize fighter gimmick that just did not suit him at all. I know he was a real life boxer, but this gimmick didn't suit him. His gimmicks in WWE, I've never said this before, and I can't believe it's come out of my mouth. His gimmicks in WCW were better than his gimmicks in WWF. I actually took him kind of seriously in WCW. Here, I'm like, oh, it's Mark Marrow. And the whole time, he's just shuffling his feet in the damn Rumble. He's he'll go over, he'll tap someone, and then he just starts shuffling around the ring. I'm like, I was annoyed watching Mark Marrow this whole Rumble. I was like, somebody, please throw him out.
I've never been a Marrow fan. Never liked him. He's a motivational speaker, I believe, now. Yeah, and a lot of the time it is him just shadow boxing and bebopping and stuff around the ring.
You say he's a motivational speaker? Hope it's not marriage.
I believe so. Yeah. I doubt it now.
Did you ever hear the story of how Mark Marrow found out about Brock? Did you ever hear all that story?
No.
So Mark Marrow had heard rumors his wife was an affair, Sable, for those who don't know. And he was talking all this, I'm going to find this guy, I'm going to pop him in the mouth. I don't care who this is. He stole my wife. I'm taking care of him. And then somehow he found out it's Brock Lesnar, and he literally went, fair. He literally was like, I'm good.
Yeah, I guess I'm going to have to get over this one.
And he didn't go over the damn rope for half an hour. But then you have someone who I think they severely missed the ball on. Ken Shamrock comes out. And how they could not make this man more of a threat, considering he was a halfway decent fighter. I'm not saying he's a great fighter, but he was good for what he did in the ring. I mean, he beat up Tito a lot, so I already get respect for him for that. And the only wrestler I think to this day give himself a concussion before every match, smash his temples every time. You not remember that? Every time he came out, he was always smash his temples with his fists to get himself hyped up.
Stupid.
He was another one of those Warzone characters. Remember, and they'd be challenging him, and he'd be punching the bag. He'd be like, "Get out of my way!" And that was his thing. He said.
That's awesome. I know. I always thought like his ankle lock actually looks more deadly when he did his ankle lock until Kurt kind of reinvented it. But I see Ronda Rousey doing an ankle lock. I'm like, please, that you ain't hurting anyone with that ankle lock. It's the way you do it.
I don't know if she actually could.
No, her armbar I'd be afraid of because that's all she knows how to do is an armbar. Because all you have to do is punch Ronda in the face and she loses. So if you can't tell, I'm not a fan of Ronda Rousey at all. I still am salty that I wasted like 100 megabits of my bandwidth to watch her fights. And then for some reason they bring Thrasher out to the ring. So Mosh has been gone for a good 10 minutes by now. Like, let's bring his tag partner out because that makes sense. Yeah, and then he doesn't last very long because he stays in there for a little bit, and then Mankind makes his second appearance of the night. You know, first he was Catch Jack, now he's Mankind, takes out Chainsaw Charlie. I'm surprised Chainsaw Charlie lasted as long as he did.
Yeah, he lasted a really long time.
Did you guys see what happened when Godwin got thrown out? He fucking kicked
Oh, is
the ref
that? Oh,
in the head.
he can't hit the ref. Yeah. He got eliminated. I think
he
like
got a concussion.
Oh, nice.
And you also had a wedgie from hell.
Oh, that's not till later. That's not.
No.
That's going to be a little bit because we had Gold Dust come out.
Ahmed Johnson?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plunge.
Yeah, because that was deep in there.
Then you
Did
had
you
Gold.
know that too?
Yep.
I did know that, yes.
Well, then you have Blue Dust come out and like, oh my god, I remember this. This is when he had like the ball gag with Luna and like
this was the artist formerly known as Gold Dust, and I think everybody can agree. We're all glad that didn't last that long because it is awful.
Talk about a dated reference, though, right? I mean, no one's gonna remember that Prince like at one point. It's like, so my name is this.
Right, a symbol.
I mean, the only way people are gonna remember is Eminem. I think rapped about it once, like back when Prince turned himself into a symbol. But yeah, so they were playing off the real life storyline. And Gold Dust apparently was like, instead of being a weird freak in gold paint, I'm gonna be a weirder freak in blue paint with this weird like red stripe and blue paint. The thong on his like bodysuit.
Oh yeah. Which just gets worse as the show goes on.
I enjoyed it.
He was also there for like a half an hour. That's one thing about this Rumble. The people who shouldn't have lasted so long lasted long. And Chainsaw Charlie, and Godwin. I didn't get it. And then you have Jeff Jarrett comes out. He's there for like a cup of coffee because he gets attacked. And then Owen finally comes in. And then you have Triple H and China coming out. Like, what is going on? At this point, I'm like,
well, Triple H and China come out when the Honky Tonk Man comes out. And it's like, oh, here comes the Honky Tonk Man. But no one gives a shit because right behind them is the European champion, Triple H.
So going back to the artist formerly known as Gold Dust.
Do we have to?
So the one thing that I love watching what he does to his opponents, the fact that I realized today, his slap across the face, he legit like chopped someone's face.
What was that sound effect again?
And my new ringtone is.
You're welcome.
Speaking of ringtones, I saw a meme today that was something along the lines of like, back in the day, we paid $35 for ringtones. Today, silent.
Yeah.
I guarantee.
I was trying to figure. Oh, I'm on silent. You know that. Yeah, but I was trying to figure out a way to get callback tones.
Call Kenny right now. You were. I'm sure there's still a way. please enjoy this music while your party is reached. Let's get it started.
Oh no! I'm doing like Baby Shark or that Phenomena song. Like you're gonna hate me for the rest of the day.
No, I guarantee if Kenny has ringtone, I call them right now. It's bow 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 now. Yeah, I love that.
It is.
Wow. Yes, I knew it.
It is.
Yeah, no, and speaking of talking about Honky Tonk Man, dude, fuck that guy. First of all, like I can't stand the Honky Tonk Man. Never have, never will. all he was just a fucking action figure, like the Ultimate Warrior, is who he lost his damn belt to. But the fact that we call him the greatest Intercontinental Champion to this day is a slap in the face to every other fucking person who's had that belt. The dude had the belt from like 87 to 88 in the most underwhelming fucking run. All it was him getting counted out and disqualified. Like, you let him beat Ricky the Dragon Steamboat and then just destroy the credibility of the title by every time he had a match, like, don't touch my hair, and then he'd get himself counted out. And the dude almost fucking killed Jake the Snake with a real guitar at one point. Like, he's partially the reason that Jake had an addiction issue, because there was before their match at SummerSlam, he was in the snake pit and he hit him with a guitar, but he hit him with the wrong guitar. If you go and look for the video, he hit him with a real guitar. So you just hear thud, like the most sickening thud, and then he keeps hitting him with it because he's like, it's not breaking. So it's like, fuck this dude. You were a hack of a wrestler. You were just a fucking overrated, no good fucking fake Elvis from Wish. You're not talented. Everyone who's worked with you hates you. And I remember at Comic-Con, Emily and I were sitting there, and he was bitching because nobody was at his table. He's like, he was literally throwing a hissy fit because nobody was showing up to his table. I'm like, because no one cares about you. You're a joke. Sorry. I hate the honky tonk man with a passion. I guess I can't say he's bitter, because I'm pretty bitter on his ass. So yes, that's why Triple H was more featured at the end, because at least you had Triple H coming out and, you know, helping get rid of Jeff Jarrett. And then you had the wedgie from hell. Ahmed Johnson decides to come down to the ring, and Jesus, those britches were so far up his ass. Like, I just remember, like, Emily was like looking down at something, and I was like, "Hey, look up." She's like, "Well, oh my god!" I'm like, talk about a pervert plunge. I'm like, it's in there deep.
That's like one of his like finishing moves. It must be. That's where Rikishi got it, because that thing. I mean, good gravy. See, I wrote it down about it when it's at the end. Like when once he finally gets eliminated, he gets fighting, and then it's real bad as he's leaving. That's when
I was gonna say,
at its worst.
I think it went further up as the match progressed. It was like every time he did a move, you just saw more of the cheek. Like, it just kept coming out of those trunks. Like, I don't know why he didn't have a long career, but I'm guessing it was something to do with awful wardrobe choice, because wow. Another one from Warzone, to go back to your Warzone reference.
Yeah. I don't know why. I don't remember anything about his career other than a feud with Farouk where one of the two got kicked in the liver, and like that was a big cause of it. Like we're in a feud. I think it was with Farouk, and that was it.
It was very like
and the next thing,
it reminded me a lot of Malachi. Remember Malachi, Kevin Thorne, whatever his name was, where he came up to this big hype, like he was going to challenge Undertaker, and then disappeared. That's kind of what for
and was gone.
Ahmed
Yeah.
Johnson was.
Yep,
he was
exactly.
Like, I'm here to challenge. Anyone knew who the fuck that guy was? His name was Pearl.
What I was like, you're picking your ass to get these veggies out. Like, all of them do it. No shade on that. But is it your punching hand?
Right. Can you imagine, like, oh, you want to chuck up a pretzel?
I mean, if I was wrestling, I don't think I would pick gear that would ride up my ass so much. I mean, you wrestle in it, you practice in it, you train in it, you know it goes.
Vince would have promoted you if you were female with gear riding up your ass. I mean, he probably put you on the main card.
Yep.
And then, speaking of the main card, you had Mark Henry come out looking like a child. Like, holy moly, did Mark Henry look like a baby?
Oh, he did. He was such a little baby. He came out looking like a peanut M&M if you took the shell off of him.
That's a great analogy. He definitely did.
I'm dead.
But I remember that time period. When he was the world's strongest man, he's ripping phone books in half, and lifting cars. And I remember being like, oh my god, he ripped a phone book in half. And then like years later, watch Bill Nye do it and be like, that's not as impressive now.
No, but he really was like legit. He won a lot of shoot competitions, so he was strong. But yeah, no, I remember like he crushed an apple to his bicep, and I saw a girl on TikTok like, I can do it too, and I'm like, oh please, oh she did do it. Like, I'm as impressed as I was. But yeah, he was greener than a cow turd in this match. Like, holy crap, he didn't know what he was doing. Like, he struggled to get in the ring. And at one point, he's getting eliminated, and he's like, I don't know how to fall. Like Emily pointed out, the ropes were super fucking loose.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like leaning on the rope, and you can tell he's afraid he's going to go out. And he's like doing this weird bob thing. And I was like, you know, this is all just setting up to get the nation in the ring because he's clearly killing time. He's just like waiting. No one's attacking him. He's looking around. I'm like, I don't think he knows what he's friggin' doing. And then again, they have to separate partners. You had Skull come out, 8-Ball's twin brother, or maybe it was 8-Ball coming out again. Who knows with Vince? Nobody
knows.
And then you had Kama Mustafa for a better gimmick. So hopefully, when he became the Godfather.
That's during that time. That's when what is it? Who is it? Phineas and Ahmed Johnson are both eliminated, and they're fighting, and then all of a sudden Kama comes out, pushes Ahmed, and is like, all right, I'm too tired to fight this, and he just walks back, and that's at the wedgie's at its max.
Yes, it was maximum. It was bad. And then you knew that obviously when Kama comes out that, okay, now we have the nation essentially in the ring besides Farouk. And then the classic Stone Cold comes out, and then Stone Cold's like, there's too many people in my ring. He just starts fucking throwing people out left and right. As you said,
we missed that. We missed the part where no one came out. Where the whole time event they've been talking that someone got to Stone Cold. And at some point, at 22, no one comes out. No, like
that's right.
Right, I wrote it down. The old who could it be? Could it be Stone Cold? He's somebody I'm not sure has gotten to Stone Cold. It could be Ken Shamrock. I'm not sure. That's the King, the whole thing. And then at 22, no one comes out. And then 3 people later, there's Stone Cold.
If someone knows of a Rumble that doesn't get ruined by commentators, I want to watch it, so let me know.
Yeah, if you go back, the announcers seem to every Rumble we watched, they always have like the clue, like they're talking about Stone Cold, they're like, oh yeah, that son of a bitch, he better not be the one. He's a rattlesnake. I don't want him to win. And like you said, when he's like, oh, he doesn't have a lot of friends, even the promo package was like, he's against the world. But yeah, then that's when Henry Godwin comes in, and eventually Savio Vega comes in, who's the one who attacked Skull because, hey, he's a bald guy. It must be Stone Cold. Maybe that's why they kept DOA around, because they needed 2 Stone Cold lookalikes.
True.
I mean, how it can't be that hard to find a bald guy with a goatee. I mean, we can go up to Maine. There's plenty of them there.
Yeah.
Then you have Farouk, who comes in, and you think he's going to go after Stone Cold, but he immediately goes after The Rock. So there's that typical like, oh, there's tension between the faction and what's going on, because Farouk just starts laying in, and then like nothing happens. He just goes away and starts attacking other people. He goes ham after The Rock. He's like, I'm done. Like I didn't understand that.
Yeah, I remember thinking that at one point, there's clearly like they're sowing the seeds of deception for the nation, because at some point they're all fighting with each other. Everyone is beating up The Rock at some point, whether it be 2 of them, 3 of them, at some point, and then they also start fighting with each other. At one point, you have D'Lo Brown and Mark Henry beating up each other, and Kama beating each other up.
And they also continuously talked about and promoted Rock and Austin. They constantly talked about it the entire time.
I mean, this is when they're really trying to find who their stars were, because they were still trying to figure out what their identity was. Because, 96, 97, you saw the loss of Bret Hart. You saw the loss of the Hart Foundation, essentially. So they kind of had to go a different direction. Stone Cold was white hot because he had just won King of the Ring. The Rock was just starting to come into his own, but he wasn't quite there yet. So they did, like you both said, they kind of planted the seeds of, okay, this is going to blow up because they eventually needed to get The Rock out of the nation so he could go and kind of get the rocket ship strapped to him. But then it almost seems like that was the downfall of like Farouk until he found Bradshaw. D'Lo just became the champion. Kama got repackaged as the Godfather. So you could definitely tell they're like, throw shit to the wall. Let's see what sticks at this point. And then you had Dude Love coming out. This is what Emily popped for the most.
So the girls are screaming on the outside for him. I just have to say, like, the fact that they really, truly had females screaming at the top of their lungs. And they captured all of them.
Yeah, did you hear that fan? She was like screeching like by the entrance ramp. And there was definitely one of those jumpsuit fucks with the cameras must have been right by her. Because all you could hear was this loud pitch. Like, oh Jesus.
And then they showed her and it didn't look like that should come out of her at all.
I know. I was expecting like the
her
17
husband.
Or unlucky. I was expecting this like 17-year-old like teeny bopper, and it was like this 40-year-old like cougar from the Great White North. You're like, what the hell? Maybe she wanted to throw underwear at the honky tonk man. Gross. But then we had 2 Chainz come out. I mean, Chainz. Which I didn't know anything about Chainz, but apparently he was Brian Hair, so he had other gimmicks, right? He wasn't just Chainz.
He looks like Undertaker meets Steven.
Oh. Yeah, I remember that. He wasn't the fake Taker, but I think he did when Taker broke his nose and had this old thing on. I think he did the fake Taker when Taker was out. But he was a whole lot of nothing. But then I remember this is where my childhood came back because Vader came out. This is the one I wanted to win when I was a kid. I loved Stone Cold, but I was pulling for Vader because they misused the fuck out of Vader in WWF. Like, you had a legit monster who lost his fucking eyeball to Stan Hansen. Like, his eyeball came out of his head and he's like, nope, got to keep going. Like, he would go to New Japan. He would just beat people until their chest caved in. Like, he gave someone a heart attack because he just beat his chest so bad, his like rib cage. And people loved wrestling him because he's like, I like to get the shit out of me. It's Vader. And he comes.
I mean, you're missing his Mick Foley ear as well. He's responsible for that.
When he ties Mick Foley up in the rope and his ear just gets sliced off.
Yeah, I was a huge Vader fan. Love Vader. Love Vader. Yeah.
And then, like, I practiced. Everyone's like, oh, everyone's like, you're a Star Trek fan. No, this is Vader time, baby. I practiced this all the time in school. Probably why I had bad grades. I make sure I could do the whole thing. Well, that and showing up is usually a helpful thing, but
yeah, that's not the biggest reason.
And sleeping and napping in class. Someone else.
Shout out, Mr. Montgomery.
Woo! Only person who kicked out of his class in like 20 years. Yes. But I was just mad because you haven't come in. He's supposed to dominate, but fucking Goldust throws him out. I'm like, seriously?
You're right.
That's not a feud that's believable. Vader would just be like, all right, I'm gonna break this guy in half next. But he was more believable as a WWF champion in Boy Meets World than he was in fucking the real WWF. Like, I was so disappointed. But then you had this is when the Rumble really got going because now you're down to like 8 guys left in the ring and you're like, okay, well, who's left? Because you still got Goldust, unfortunately. You got the Rock who could have won it. You have, I think, Dude Love was still technically in it for a little bit. He had Farouk, he had Stone Cold. So you had a good mix of people who could win this. And then Stone Cold just starts kind of cleaning house and it just becomes chaos. And then it gets down to essentially Stone Cold and The Rock, and you're like, that's the future right there. And it wouldn't take place until WrestleMania 15, but it's like, this is what I like about the Rumble. They planted the seed for that Rock versus Austin because this would be the year that The Rock would win the King of the Ring. So, they kind of, their careers mirrored each other. And this is where they struck lightning ball. They realized, shit, we have something with The Rock. And I think that's what made this Rumble special because at the end, Stone Cold, he gets that win, and you're like, yeah, okay, Stone Cold's going to Mania. He's going to fight Shawn Michaels. Like, this is great. But then they show Mike Tyson, and you're like, he's going to be involved somehow, isn't he? And I'm so mad I never got to go because I was in Boston when Stone Cold went to Mania the first time. Did you know anyone that went to that Mania? Did you go to that? Did you know who went to that Mania?
No. I never made it to any like major show. We never made it. I made it to a lot of house shows.
I mean, house shows were that because you saw a lot of fun matches because they would test things out. Like I remember your little brother Pat spoiling Mr. America because you guys had gone to a house show where he was there testing out the gimmick. And I remember being so mad at your little brother. We were in class and they were teasing all week that SmackDown was going to debut Mr. America. And you guys must have gone to like the Saturday or the Sunday show in Manchester. And I just remember your brother was like, I know who Mr. America is. Do you want to know? I'm like, no, I know. He's like, it's fucking Hulk Hogan. You're not wasting anything. Like, damn you, Pat.
It's the best thing Hulk Hogan ever did.
That Hogan's Knows Best. That was a pretty funny show.
Yeah.
That's how I knew about him first.
But I mean, looking back and retro reviewing this Rumble, like it's not as good as my nostalgia made me remember to it. I mean, it was good. I'll definitely always keep it up there because all of Stone Cold wins are like memorable to me because I love Stone Cold. But like looking at it just from like a match itself, it was too character and cartoony for me. I think there's too many characters, so there wasn't enough serious competitors. And I think that's what a Royal needs. You need that actual threat. Like, okay, this person can win, but this person can win. Not, you know who's gonna win. So I like the ending of this one because you had Stone Cold and The Rock, and if you don't know, you're like, okay, either one of these guys can win.
One of the things that I talked to you about before about looking back and watching all these Rumbles is, between the one that I picked and the one that you picked, it's the people that are in those ones that we're excited about nowadays coming out. So like in 98, it was just basically clearly the roster, and then in, 2002, it's, the roster with one or two surprise people. And in 2020, it's who's the surprise person that's coming out. And then nowadays it's, a surprise person here and there and, NXT prospect people. But like in 98, it wasn't about
Mickey James,
Right. Like that's a huge return, that's a surprise. That's why I always love the Royal Rumble now is like, who is it that is going to come back from when I was a childhood that's going to be part of it this time. And like nowadays it's one or two people and then it's a lot of like the roster and NXT people. And I'm not saying like that's bad, but I don't think that for me I want the fun of it. I want the excitement and the return, not a debut.
And I think that's probably why, not to jump too far, I think that's why you guys both picked 2002, 2020 because they both kind of featured returns. I know Triple H, because that is when 2002 had returned to Raw previously with that god-awful U2 song with that pretentious fuck Bono singing. It was great because Triple H just blew his quad out year before in that tag team match with Stone Cold. And when I remember them talking about the injury back in the day, they're like, yeah, he ripped it off the bone. I just remember this kid going, yeah, the fuck, you ripped that muscle off the bone. Like, so you didn't think, and then him come back and he's like, I'm in the Rumble, bitch. Like, all right, it's gonna be a great Rumble. When Triple H comes out, we haven't seen him wrestle in a year. This is gonna be great, and it was. And I can see, I knew exactly when you said 2002. I'm like, I know why. It's because Triple H won, and because Triple H was returning. The storyline behind it, the excitement, the roster had a lot of solid attitude era wrestlers who we grew up with. So I definitely know I like this because you have Rikishi. He comes out first, and then you don't really know what he's going to be because this is kind of, he just became a face again. But then you have Goldust start number 2. And this is, thankfully not the artist formerly known as Goldust.
My favorite thing that was said is that we may see 29 stink faces tonight. I only counted one.
Yeah, but the one you counted, his mouth was open.
Oh my god, yeah, the guy's mouth was like, ah.
I have written down stink face has to be the worst move in the history of wrestling moves. And then I wrote top 3. Stink face, finger poke of death, Goldberg's kicks. Worst 3.
Yeah, I would agree. I probably add the Sky High to that too, but
It's another. Yes.
but
I also have to point out that we had a Triple H and Austin promo package right before this. So if we thought anything different was going to happen, we were kind of silly.
no, I mean even back in the day, WWF telegraphed it. I mean, they had that whole YouTube like hype package of Triple H's rehab come back. So you knew Triple H was, even back in the day, you knew Triple H was coming in and winning the Rumble. Like, you don't return from major injury to the Rumble and be like, oh, I lost 5. I lost 5th. Like, damn it.
Yeah.
G. Willikers. I'll try next time. Kind of like what they're doing with Cody Rhodes now. They're like showing all his rehab from his injury. He's coming back for the Rumble. It's like they're telling you it's 2002 all over again.
Right. If he doesn't win, it'll be a surprise.
Speaking of surprise, was Big Boss Man having his mouth, like I said, wide open for that stink face. Because he comes in, he gets his stink face, and poor Ray Trailer, like his mouth is wide open in that crack. And like you said, that's got to be miserable. Just all that cellulite in your face. No thanks. Like, I'm not trying to shit on Rikishi. I love Rikishi. I love Too Cool. But I would not want that fucking cottage cheese in my face. I'm good.
You don't want to shit on them like the commentators did?
Oh, the commentators should never have that. This is 2002.
It was survival of the fattest.
Oh, the commentators, JR and the King, like at that time, like no one was safe. Before it even started, Howard Finkel is explaining the rules, and the King's like, "All right, Howard, wrap it up. It's only an hour-long match." Like he's explaining the rules to the people, and they're like, "There are enough of this. All right, we're done."
I mean, I will say though, watching these shows back, I miss Howard Finkel because I loved how he enunciated. There's no time for the Royal Rumble match. Like, just the way he like popped every other vowel. Like, it's just, I don't know. To me, he's one of the voices of my childhood. Him, and then King going puppies. It's like the voice of my adolescent childhood. Like, or oh, that's my God, he broke him in half. Like certain things. So I think that's why watching these, you get a different. Because you're like, oh my God, I remember this. Like he will said, the King just shitting on everyone. Like, all right, wrap it up. Let's go. Come on, Grandma. Like, and he was just so quick with his jabs.
Yeah, nothing like is off limits there. At another point, Al Snow comes out, and the crowd, we want head. Did you get that too? What
I love
the
him.
King said?
I think he's hilarious. I did cosmetology, so I had the head. So he pops me every time I see it. I'm like, what does everybody want?
Head!
Yeah. Yeah. As soon as the crowd starts chanting, "We want head," and the King goes, I'd start chanting along, but it wouldn't be for Al Snow.
That was a classic one. And what I think I like when they were doing the whole like introductions of him, they were like, and he's the Tough Enough season 1 trainer. Like, what a weird ass intro looking back. Like,
right.
Saying,
and actually, it was season 2, they said. Also, season 2.
Oh, sorry, season 2.
Yeah, they didn't even give him credit for first season.
But, and like, shout out to Al Snow because he is one of the best minds in the business today. Like,
he trains so many people at the moment. So many newcomers are like, yeah, Al Snow's my trainer.
And I always love one of the best things he said besides Mick Foley ribbing on Al Snow's a whole other level. But my favorite Al Snow thing he said is, he goes, "There's nothing worse than you come into a ring and you think you're bigger than the other person." And he's like, "I don't mean physically." He's like, "I look like I, would go in there and get my ass kicked." He's like, "But you look me the wrong way, I'm going to pop you in the mouth and throw you on your face." And I'm like, I mean, fair. But Al Snow did look like that person who's like, all right, I'm tired of this fucking kid. Like, just start bashing someone's face. And he didn't really look intimidating, but you knew he was just there to be fodder. But before that was Kenny's favorite comment. Lance Storm comes out. And like, right away, they're like, "Oh, here's Captain Personality." If I can be serious for a moment. And
yeah, they shit on him. Yeah, right before the show, we were talking, and what I like is that the first thing they do is they talk about how shit his personality is, but then the rest of the match that he's in there, they just talk about how great he is and how skilled he is and how he's like an incredible wrestler. And I like that they, because he is known for just being like this dry guy, but he's incredibly skilled when you strip it. I'd say take away the personality, but it's already not there. But when you strip it down, he's just like an incredible athlete. He's just missing that personality.
I agree, and it kind of we were saying, it reminds me of like a modern day. A lot of the things I hate with certain wrestlers, it's like they can be so talented in the ring, but if they're as over as a paper bag, I'm good. Like it's hard to get behind a character who you're like, it's my math teacher. Like Lance Storm looked like my freaking 9th grade math teacher. Like if I can be serious for a moment, today we're going to divide 9 by 20 tuple. What does that mean, Mr. Storm? It means that you need to follow the instructions. Oh, Jesus Christ, this guy's boring. Yeah,
and I think that's why I have a problem with. Yeah, incredibly talented. Sorry to interrupt. Go on.
You can go ahead. Sorry. So I apologize.
I was just saying that
the connection here. So.
No worries. I was saying that's one of the reasons that like Ricochet is a prime example of someone nowadays. He's very talented, but like, what is he? He's known for what other than flipping around. He's no personality whatsoever, or very little.
And it's hard. You want to get behind some of these guys, but then you see some, you're just like, I like this guy, but he's like, what's his gimmick? Because it's almost like they don't have a gimmick, so they just go out there and like, I'm just myself. Like that's great, but it's like the most iconic movie documentary ever made. You got to turn up to 11. You can't just be a 5. Like Jericho's one of the best examples of that. Someone who tweaks his gimmick every so often. Like when he came back to WWE the 3rd time, you're like, all right, this is his 3rd return. He came back as this corporate asshole. Like, I've been on the road. I've made money. You fucking peasants deserve me. Like, bow down to me. Then he left, came back, and he was like, I hate everyone. Look, I made a list. You've all wronged me. Like, he kept tweaking his character to make you care about him or want to see his ass kicked. You have someone like a Lance Storm and Al Snow. Al Snow is comedy, but I could care less. He was just there because I want to see him hit someone with a mannequin. Which
every time I hear Al Snow, God.
I was going to say that he was actually in the 2nd game, the Attitude Era follow-up, and the mannequin you could actually unlock as a playable character if you unlock certain achievements. Because I remember trying so hard to get that stupid character. It was basically a credit character with a mannequin head.
Every time I think of Al Snow, I think it's Mick Foley's first DVD where it's him and Edge talking, and it's you want to watch a Best of Al Snow DVD? Like there is no Best of Al Snow.
Oh yeah, when he was Commissioner Foley, I loved how he would just rip into him. He's like, "Oh look, Al Snow's coming to match." He said he wants to see highlights. So does everyone else. Then you have Billy Gunn come out, which holy crap, that man has not aged.
So we're going from head to scissoring.
Correct.
But I had to kind of softly explain to Cam and Emily what this gimmick was. I'm like, oh yeah, that's when he was with Chuck Palumbo and his life partner. Because let's be real, the only good thing about Billy and Chuck was when Eric Bischoff was the priest and married them. It was like, I said 3 minutes and pulled off his mask. And this, I don't understand. Chuck Palumbo was too talented, but again, no personality, so they stuck with Billy.
Mm-hmm.
And there was this with Rico. What was he? ECW. It wasn't Rico. What was he in? Nova? Was it Nova?
Oh, I don't remember him.
I thought he was. So they changed names and gimmicks so much I always lose track. But it was awful. He came in. He was just there to be fodder because then Limp Bizkit, Emo Mongo popped here because you had had Undertaker come out on his motorcycle. I'm surprised they kept it in on the original broadcast because I can't imagine how much nowadays it costs to stream that song.
Oh, I loved it. I popped too. Oh, Roland hit, and I was like, "Oh my God, it's the Undertaker!" Like, yeah. But this was a weird time. This is
right here.
Yeah. This was a weird time for the Undertaker because it was like, do I really like him? Is he really like the same guy? At this time, I was into Triple H. I liked Chris Jericho forever. I wasn't a huge Undertaker fan at this point, but still, like the nostalgia of it. Oh my God.
I loved the Undertaker at this point because I was always a huge fan of him. I liked the later 90s, like the Ministry of Darkness taker. I didn't mind the early 90s taker, like the actual like Mortician, because I didn't fall for it, I guess. So like I was like, oh, he's just a big guy. But it wasn't until he became like that cult leader, like where he really showed his personality, that I really started enjoying him. And then when he randomly came back into the biker, I'm like, all right, cool, I like him. I remember I had my Dead Man for decade of dominance. I got from a house show too. And I remember being so excited to try to meet that Undertaker, and he just like looked at me and he just like nodded, and I was like, it counts. It fucking counts. But the one thing I will say is, because you have Matt and Jeff come up next, what I remember most of this year is how Jeff Hardy would go on to have a match later on this year with Undertaker in a ladder match, and he would just go next level. And that was also in Boston, and I'm so mad because I was supposed to go to the event. I had tickets to that event, but my mom wouldn't let me go because I had driver's ed that night, and she wouldn't let me skip. And I was so mad because to this day, one of my biggest wrestling regrets is I went to stupid driver's ed, but we did nothing that night. I remember nothing about driver's ed. You know, I remember Jeff Hardy earning the Undertaker's fucking respect.
That's what you get for learning, you nerd.
Right? I was going to say some people might need a driver's ed, but...
Who, me?
No, not at all.
Hey, that's my first time.
I mean, she's a better driver of the two of us.
Yes, it does.
I wouldn't say that. I don't know what half the shit means on the road sometimes.
No, I remember. No, trust me, because when we went to Rhode Island to go to a Comic-Con, I remember we were leaving a Dunkin' Donuts parking lot. I'm like, oh, it says we have to go in the traffic circle. So I start driving to the parking lot. Boof, boof. I realized I didn't drive through the parking lot. I drove over like the sidewalk and the median of the actual parking lot to get to the traffic, because I didn't realize they had like this world's tiniest exit like this. I thought it was wide, so I just drove and she's like, my car. I'm like, it's fine, we're in the road.
For like 6 months, if that. It was still my new baby. Boom.
I pulled the Kenny, I curbed it.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. We might as well tell everyone that one, huh? I mean, so here we are. Mongo's teaching our friend Glenn how to drive. We're in a parking lot of a school, and I'm like, all right, hey, you think I can get a try? I've never driven this car before. I think I was just starting to learn. No idea what I was doing. And he's like, yeah, sure. Just keep it in the parking lot. Of course I'm not doing that. So I take off, we start driving, and of course I turn right out of the parking lot, turn right, but I'm like way too wide. So we come into oncoming traffic. You know, it's just by a school, and there's a truck coming. So I'm like, oh my God, he's yelling at me, get over there, get over there. So I turn over, overcorrect, up onto a curb, back down into the parking lot again. He's like, get the fuck out of the car. Back where we started. I was like, all right, someone else can drive now.
Yeah,
I won't forget when I was 16, we had a friend of the family give us a car for me. My parents fixed it up, and the guy was so excited. He's like, yeah, if you want to go look at your new car, it's in our garage. So my brother takes me out there. My brother's 5 years older than me, so he's 21, kind of like too cool for school. So I asked him which one's the brake and which one's the gas, because I had no idea. I was still learning driver's ed. I must have been 15.
It's not.
And he was like, no, you need to know that. No, he was so floored that I had no idea which was which. And I was just being really honest. I was like, well, which one is it?
Sometimes sarcasm doesn't even work. My brother had a manual transmission. I wanted to be a wise, so he's like, I'm going to teach you how to drive. You need to know how to drive a manual transmission. I'm like, all right. So I got in the car. I'm like, huh, why you got 3 pedals? Yep, that lesson was done that day. I was like, I was joking. He's like, nope. I bet he wishes he would, because about 20 years later, he was working on his Jeep, and he's like, hey, I need you to start the car. I'm trying to listen for a leak in the exhaust. I'm like, okay. So I didn't know how to drive it. I didn't realize that when you started the car that your foot was supposed to stay on the clutch and the brake at the same time. So I let off the clutch without thinking, and the car started rolling. I didn't know what to do. The bumper smashed my brother in the shoulder so hard. And I remember him being so mad, and I couldn't think of anything else to say. And I was like, sure bet you wish to teach me how to drive a standard now. He was not happy. And this was when we were grown adults too, so he beat the shit out of me. But speaking of beating the shit out of, next up we have Maven come out and eliminate the Undertaker. And I was shocked that happened, even to this day. Like, how does someone who wins Tough Enough does nothing in their entire career get the moment to eliminate the Undertaker in a Royal Rumble?
Oh, it was huge. The crowd went crazy.
He threw the cameraman down. He was so pissed.
Well, I mean, Maven didn't even know, because I found an old podcast, so I kind of roughly translated it here best I can. But he goes, so I eliminated him. He sells, he gets up, he turns, and he looks at me. Then you see the fear in my face. And most people are like, damn, that's some great acting. Nah, I wasn't acting. I was legitimately terrified at that moment. Like, no, legitimately. I'm not working, man. I was shoot terrified because I didn't know if I was going to get my ass kicked. Did I kick him too hard? What's going on? And he goes, it's great to show you, because he gave me a look to show me I was scared. And then we got backstage after he threw my ass through a popcorn machine. He was like, good job, kid.
Hell yeah.
That popcorn machine. Ugh. Undertaker ate some, and I was like, you gonna eat glass? Shit. I mean,
yeah. All. Good.
I was gonna say, no, so after they go in the crowd, I just think it was funny because like he's just beating the shit. First of all, he doesn't eliminate him, so he goes back in, brings him in the ring, and then throws him over the rope to eliminate him. Because he threw him through the ropes, and you can see Undertaker go, shit. So he beats him down a little bit, brings him back in the ring, then he eliminates him by throwing him over the rope, takes him in the crowd. I think this is hilarious as a New England fan. They're in Atlanta, and you see this big dude with the number 69 patch jersey right next to him, like, yeah! Like super trashed. And he's just screaming. And Undertaker looks at him like, yeah. And he just takes Maven up the stairs, because this is when Undertaker was more expressive with his face, because he was more of his like real life character. So he just gives that guy a look, and they go upstairs, and they go to the popcorn machine. He just drills him headfirst through the popcorn machine. There's blood on the popcorn. Undertaker's like, ooh, I'm hungry. And decides to eat the fucking popcorn after he's eaten. And the fans are like trying to get in on the action, and that poor security guard can't stop them.
Yeah, during the time that Maven is taking an ass whooping by the Undertaker, Scotty 2 Hotty decides to come out. And for some reason, he decides, you know what's a great thing for me to do? Dance my happy ass down towards that man. He gets laid out. And then
I was wondering how he get dizzy.
Yeah, and then while he's throwing Maven through the machine, Christian comes out, and his entrance is interrupted. And we talked about how I loved his entrance, loved him at this time. Another fantastic European champion.
Great pyro, the best pyro.
One of my favorites. Yeah, he sure did. Oh, it's funny because the next thing I have written down is rant. Stop saying the RKO is out of nowhere. It never is. If you taunt for 5 minutes, all right, pounding on the canvas, it's not out of nowhere. All right. DDP, he did that. All right. Out of different moves, different positions, all that jazz. Randy stole that shit. Yeah, right. Randy stole that, and he stole Christian's pyro.
I'm guessing Kenny's not a fan of Randy Orton.
I like him.
No. Hey, it's better than the Overdrive or the Playmaker.
He's one of those. Yeah, it's a weird point because it's like I don't hate him, but I don't remember ever really being like a rooting for him guy.
When he went Legend Killer Tour is when I was a fan of him. When he started like being cocky and like I liked him. Like pretty much Evolution to like Legend Killer is when I started liking him. But then like he just kind of got lost in the shuffle because I was a Triple H guy and I was like, nah, fuck you. You betrayed Triple H. Let's go, Papa.
Right. That's the thing is I was a Triple H guy more than anything else. So like I never really gave Randy Orton the look.
Do you sell this tight?
Yeah, they're upstairs in my house.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I was gonna say, yeah, he's got ring worn trunks from Triple H for those who know. I don't remember. You can tell the story how you got it, but I just remember being in your apartment and you have them on the wall, and your former roommate was just like, "Oh, what? We have to keep those up there." I was like, "See that? He's gonna try them on."
Yeah, my former roommate. That's funny. Yeah. My dad won him in a like radio contest. I got that, and it's a plaque with Triple H, and it's got a piece of the mat that he wrestled on. It's the one he won the title where he's wearing purple. I don't remember what WrestleMania it was, but yeah, and a pair of his tights that are signed, and then a handful of like pictures and stuff.
Yeah, it's super cool because it's like the iconic black tights with the silver. Like, I don't know why I remember this. So I remember like that random thing on your wall, but like, I just remember like you're kind of one of the reasons I wanted to start collecting, seeing that like there's really cool wrestling memorabilia out there. Like, there's some cool ass shit out there. Like some of the stuff I like. She's over next to me. Like, I got this Road Warrior poster in the mail like last year. I'm like, I don't want to hang up so I get a frame because I didn't realize it said 1 of 100, but I only paid $40 for it. So. Yeah, and speaking of Triple H, this was the Rumble where I think I really became a fan of him, but I won't skip too far because we have DDP, the master of the cutter. He comes out. He goes right after Christian, so this is going to setting up their WrestleMania match or their feud when they went for the European title, which I think they should bring that title belt back in WWE now. I'm just going to put it out there. You have Walter, you have Shinsuke, you have legit representation that someone could be a European champion. I don't really care about having Roman having 2 belts. Get rid of one of them. Have a European. Have another mid-card belt for the other workers who are working, busting their ass. And the European belt was a sweet-looking belt.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't give it a whole lot of respect when you look at what like the history of like who's had it and stuff. There's a lot, and I know I keep joking around about it, but you know, everyone's won it from freaking Triple H, Christian, D'Lo Brown, RVD, Jeff Hardy. I mean, all these like great careers, and you know, British Bulldog. You know, all these great careers, and they've all held the European Championship. I just joke. I think it's just an obscure title to have won to be, you know, have a long career afterwards.
I mean, it's not as bad as like the light heavyweight title that lasted all like 30 seconds. That
Right.
Who had it, and like Kai and Tai just tossed it around. S.A. Rios, I know you have no idea who that is, but let's just say he brought Lita in. Which I'm surprised. All these Rumbles, I didn't see S.A. Rios. I gotta find out. I feel like he was in a Rumble somewhere.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen him in one.
He was there long enough, and he was talented.
Yeah,
too.
he made a game. He was in. Which one was he in? No, he was in No Mercy, maybe.
That's what we should do. We should find some of these retro game.
Yeah.
Reviews. There we go. Because there's some awful ones.
Smashing games.
Not Warzone. Warzone was a bitch to play. That was some of the worst controls ever. I was like, right, left, down, A, B, down, up. You're like, damn it. No, I got to pin him instead. So anyways. So then you have Chuck and the Godfather come up. Now, the Godfather had the most hose I think I've ever seen him come out with at this point. Like, there was, you counted him? There was 12 hoses, apparently.
Yeah, they said he had an escort service now.
He had like 3 or 4.
I think the first round was mostly like a mix of hair. The second round was all brunette. And the third round was mostly brunette as well.
You know a lot. But I
was looking to see if any of them were like female talent. No, I was like, oh, is that somebody from the future? Like,
no, because I was telling her off air that what they used to do is they used to go to local strip clubs and they would like set up like modeling agencies at like the mall. But a lot of times they would just go to local strip clubs. you have Bruce Pritchard. You know, some people are go to himself like, yo, we need some ladies for tonight. So I can only imagine some of the conversations that must have went down. Like, yo, we need 5 blondes for tonight. What do you plan on doing with them? Filming them? Road bike? No. Dude, you got to start with that part of the conversation. Right?
Yeah.
But nowadays, she made a point. It'll probably be talent. But yeah, they literally just got like local strippers or wannabe actresses. To the point, that's how Ryan Shamrock stayed in the business for a while. She was like a former stripper that stayed there, and then I think real life started having a relationship with Ken Shamrock, so they had to nix the whole sister storyline because apparently Vince had some lines, not just cocaine, but he had some lines he wouldn't cross.
The Godfather's entrance is always so like ridiculous because like nowadays, like this last one, right? He came out, lasted so long that DDP ends up getting eliminated. They show a replay of him getting eliminated, while the Godfather's entrance is still going on. They show a full replay of him getting eliminated. Then he starts walking down to the ring. It stops before his music stops before he gets into the ring, and then he slides in. And as soon as he starts hitting somebody, the 10-second countdown goes. That's how long it actually lasted.
He slides in, and all of a sudden Albert comes out. I'm like, Godfather's only been out for like 10 seconds. What the hell?
Right.
You're right. No,
right.
His entrance was crazy. And then Albert lasts all like 5 seconds because Chuck and Christian just tossed his ass right out.
Right.
It was more like, I'm glad you can't. He was gone. But I like this one so far because we hadn't really had a mix. Like, besides Stone Cold coming in later, we haven't really had a mix of anyone dominating yet. Like, Jigger got a couple people out, but it was a nice balance of like everyone kind of got eliminations. That wasn't until
the Taker didn't eliminate a ton of people. You know, he cleared the ring and maybe 2 people, and then Maven eliminated him, and it could be like a break of just dominance. You know, like the one we watched before where it's like people just stay there and one guy beats everybody up. Like this one didn't have too much of that. That makes sense?
No, it did. It was definitely one of the more well-produced matches. It had the spots made sense. You know,
lots of showcasing. So I like when they can slide in, they hit every single person in the ring with a move, and then they continue to brawl for a few seconds before someone is thrown out.
Yeah, I love that.
I think it was definitely a good mix of it, and you had a good mix of their mid-card talent because then you have Perry Saturn, who I forgot to mention in the commentary. He was a former like. I was like, oh, I didn't know he was in the military.
Mm-hmm.
Like that dude he's got a rough life right now. I looked him up. It's sad right now. He needs a lot of help mentally and financially.
Mm.
His career, I thought of all the radicals. I thought he was going to be that one that was never like the top guy. I thought he was going to be there until he was like old. I thought he was going to be like Dean Malenko. He's going to stay just long enough, become a coach, kind of go backstage. But Vince McMahon didn't see any potential and gave him a mop, and he was done. WCW, Vince Russo's like, you can wear a dress. Like no one ever took him seriously.
Yeah,
the Rings of Saturn
was
one of my favorite submissions. I mean,
yeah, his career is changed less. Yeah.
I mean, and he did a hell of a job with Moppy. Like, remember when he would come out with Moppy and he would like talk to it? And also, speaking of games, there was one of the SmackDown vs. Raws you could use Moppy as a finisher. You could smash him over the head with it. It was kind of funny. And then you have Stone Cold come out. He would kind of clear the ring. And then you have Val Venus coming out. But this is like the new and improved. I'm not going to be a porn star, Val Venus. I'm just named Val Venus. Like, shaved head, like before he became Chief Morley. Like, this is when you tell they were like, yeah, we're done with your shtick, dude. So he came out for a whole lot of nothing. Test, another one whose entrance took forever.
Yeah.
He slow walks to the point that he gets in the ring and Triple H's music hits.
Yeah. They kept saying Test won immunity. He won immunity by winning the immunity battle royal back at Survivor Series, which meant that he couldn't be fired. And it was like, that does nothing for him in this match. Why are you know nothing else about him that you're just telling us like he can't be fired even when he's about to be eliminated or he's coming out in this match? Like, it does nothing for him. Thanks.
Yeah, I didn't understand the calling of him, and they could have even done the whole like he once almost married Stephanie, or he was Motley Crue's bodyguard. You know, he blah blah blah. He's my pick to win because he's a big guy. Like, there was so much they could have said. And they're just like you said, yeah. Back in Survivor Series, he kept his job. Okay. And then the roof went off here. Triple H would hit at number 22. Holy crap, that crowd reaction for Triple H. Like, he's not even from Atlanta. He's from, New Hampshire. That place, you would have thought it was his hometown. Like, they blew up. That was
they went crazy.
And
they made sure to mention he hasn't been in the ring since May. So again, like, I definitely see how they're doing Cody Rhodes repackaging with this. I think it's really smart, especially with Triple H, being a big part of WWE at the moment. I think it's kind of cool. Their careers do mimic each other. It's very ironic at the same time.
Yeah, because Cody, I'm not sure if you're aware, basically took a lot of cheap shots at Triple H after he left. He kind of accused Triple H of being one of the people that sandbagged his career. I mean, he wasn't as bad as the internet makes it out to be. Like but every time Cody had a little dig, they would be like, "Oh, look, he's burying Triple H." So that's why I think a lot of the irony will come in is someone that the internet assumes took shots at Triple H's whole career. Because when he debuted Double Nothing, he had the sledgehammer. He broke the throne. He used to carry around a golden shovel. So like little digs all the time. It's like it's kind of ironic that you're having the Triple H. So I can see Triple H doing it to be petty, but like, you always wanted to be me. Now you can. Hope you can run with it. Like I can see Triple H being that. If you think you can be me, then go ahead and be me.
I love a good return, but I always get worried when it's like a major, rehab. I think he was out 8 months or something like that. Cody's been out for a while. Like, I don't like necessarily like I love the return, but I don't like them being immediately thrown into that main event spotlight because it's like how long can they really like hold that up? How long has this rehab been enough for them to be a main player now? Edge came back and he was putting storylines, but he wasn't going for titles or anything like that immediately. And I think that's what I think is a concern. Triple H came back 8 months, and is he ready fully to come back from a torn quad to be champion and carry a belt?
CM Punk left for 3 months?
Yeah.
He instantly injured himself again.
After winning the title.
Exactly.
But then
exactly.
But then you have another storyline. You have Charlotte Flair come back to SmackDown after being gone for almost a year for her wedding and other things, and immediately winning the title, but everyone else been there. So I definitely see your point, whether it's are they physically ready, but do they deserve that? Like everyone else, so screw you guys. Like that's I think what always bothers me sometimes about the is screw you for holding down the company for a year. And Triple H was that guy. So I think that's kind of why he got rewarded, because when the Rock and Stone Cold went out, he was the guy to hold it down.
And that's one of the things that I have an issue with NXT people when they win it. Nothing against them, but you've got these main guys that have been carrying it and clearly established. And, you're just making it to the main show, and now you're going to be in the main event in a few months. Like, you just got here versus the guys that have been carrying it. And I know you're doing a lot behind the scenes and all that, but kind of get in line type deal.
Speaking of behind the scenes too, at least Cody trains people. So he has his school. So he's been in the ring at least. Like we can say he's definitely training.
No, I think one of the big things that I like to also about this Rumble to kind of go back, so I don't derail you guys, because I know my ADHD will throw us in all the different directions. You have someone like the Hurricane who came out for the comedy segment. Another thing I love about Rumbles is the comedy segments.
That Hurricane trying to chokeslam Austin and Triple H is by far one of my favorite Rumble moments ever. Absolutely kills me every time. Love it, love it, love it.
I like the King when he was like, he thinks he knocked him down.
Yeah.
And the whole gimmick of the Hurricane started as a joke. The Rock made fun of Gregory Helms. It was like, you probably think you're a superhero or something. And then
because he had a Green Lantern tattoo.
Yep. Which looks about as bad as mine, the one we got when we were in Canada. But yeah, that also, I thought that was cool. And then, hey, you have Farouk again. So it's kind of cool. At 98 and 2002, we have a lot of the same talents, but look how much they've been repackaged. So then you have the APA version of Farouk, the Farouk that I really like. He comes out, but Triple H's like, hi, bye.
He didn't even change his attire. It's the same guy. It's just different things on his tights. Farouk's outfit is the same exact thing.
Right? They were just like, all right, instead of this, we're just gonna put some random ass symbols on there. What do the symbols mean? I don't fucking know, dude. I was eating alphabet soup
Yeah.
and they just look cool.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Then you have back in the day, I did not see this coming. You had Mr. Perfect making his return to WWE, which this return is going to be the most underwhelming return because they did nothing with Mr. Perfect before the plane ride from hell. Like, he comes back, he still looked like he could go. He still looked like he could wrestle. I mean, he was obviously older, but he looked like he could have gone for another IC title run, or he could have gone for another decent mid-card help elevate the younger guys. But it was kind of like he came in for the Rumble and then just overstayed his welcome because they just didn't do anything with him.
Oh, I always loved Mr. Perfect. Yeah, when he came out, I was super excited. I love the little gum spit thing he does. I do that when I'm spitting out gum. Yeah, but they did. I mean, immediately they started doing him wrong. They said he was ironed into obscurity, like always, after such a hiatus. And like, wow, that's like terrible. And I mean, you knew like, well, he's obviously not going to be doing well because like they just were shitting on him.
It's like when Tatanka came back a few years ago. They're like, he's in such great shape. And then Gerald's rounded his shape. You're like, Jesus. Like, you're just, like, instantly bury them. You're like, oh, so much for being a legend of our childhood. And then you had back in the day, who I thought was going to be a solid number 2 to win, was Kurt Angle. You had Kurt Angle come out, and this was like peak wrestling, right? Not Wrestling Machine TNA, but this is when Kurt Angle was like top of the world. Like, this is when he was really getting ready to have his great matches with, I know we don't talk about him, but, Benoit and Shawn Michaels and Triple H. And this is when, and then his comedy gimmick would start coming from him. This is when he'd do his Jimmy Crack Corn on SmackDown Stone Cold, which, fun fact, I was at that SmackDown. It just, love it. Then you have the Big Show come out. So you start having now some big guys coming out. Kane, RVD, Booker T. So now you have all these guys in the ring. You're like, I can see all these guys but Farouk and Mr. Perfect winning. You have Triple H, you have Stone Cold, you have Kurt Angle, Big Show, Kane, RVD. I can see all these guys winning. So I think that's what made this Rumble exciting is there was like, okay, who's going to take this?
Yeah, there was a lot that RVD takes a pedigree and he lays there like a crime scene chalk line for over a minute. And then Booker T comes in and the thing he does is just toss a lifeless RVD out. It's fantastic. And then of course, what does he got to do? Got to celebrate. We'll spin a Rooney, only to get eliminated right afterwards.
I know Stone Cold was like, I'm done with your spin and Rooney. Just threw his ass right over the top rope. And then I was shocked that Mr. Perfect got to eliminate Stone Cold because then Angle and Mr. Perfect would team up and take out Stone Cold. Before Triple H was like, all right, see you guys later. And then it's just, I was shocked that Kurt Angle goes out. Triple H is celebrating, and he wins. I'm not saying shocked because obviously it was coming, but like even back in the day, like, all right, there it is. But it was definitely a solid so far. One of my favorites. This was the other one I was going to pick, but when you told me you're picking, I'm like, shit, that's the one I had on my list. Because if I were to rank Rumbles, 2002 is definitely like number 1 or 2 for me. It's always been like one of my favorites because of Triple H, because of the star power, and because it hit every cliche of the Rumble basically, and it hit all the fun parts of it.
And if I could have picked one, it would have been the one Mongo picked.
Because of the 3 faces of Foley.
So I picked
this one,
that like
This one I picked, like, when you look at the people that are in it, they're all just fantastic. There's very few people that are like, obviously, you got your Maven, Val Venus, those people, but everybody in there, like, everybody's got somebody that's like, I really liked that person. I was really a big fan of them.
I forgot the new things are color coded. Sorry.
Oh yeah, no. So we got into the one that Emily chose. I was kind of shocked she chose this, but then I know one of the reasons she chose it because she likes to make fun of me for it. But Emily chose the 2020 Royal Rumble, which one of the last Royal Rumbles before the pandemic. I think it was the second to last pay-per-view before the pandemic. So it was weird to see 2020 on the list and not see the Thunderdome, because I feel like most of 2020 was in that god awful like iPad phase or no crowd phase.
Yeah.
And I have a hard time rewatching a lot of those because I can't do it without the crowd. It's not the same. The magic's not there.
Yeah, this is when like I started like losing a lot of interest in stuff because I couldn't watch it without the crowd, and even like the WrestleManias in inside that bullshit. And when I watched it, I had my phone next to me with YouTube crowd noises just so that it felt like it was a real event because it was just
That's
so
smart.
hard to watch.
Yeah, and it's crazy kind of looking back. But I remember the one thing that always bugged me on the show was Brock Lesnar's your champion. He enters number one. And I remember back then, like,
Yep.
what in the actual fuck does this make sense?
And
Yeah,
I'm going to throw it out there right now. Get ahead of it. Brock throws that championship title so many times at the floor of the ring. And I'm sorry, but like, since when does a champion just toss that shit around like it means nothing? Like it doesn't matter if it breaks. He just is, it's whatever. It's whatever. I've never seen a champion like not take care of and cherish the belt.
yeah, that's fair. It's funny to go back a second. You're talking about like, why you picked this one, and I couldn't understand when you said like 2020. I was like, oh, okay, it must be something happened in that thing, and then I was like, oh no, it's the Brock Lesnar one, and then I put it on, and it's like we're really sad to hear about the passing of Kobe Bryant. And I was like, Jesus Christ, we get to be sad from that all over again. I was like, why in the hell did she pick this one? I get it after watching it, but I was like, dear God, like this is a terrible.
So Mongo had asked me to pick one that was after the one you picked. That way we could kind of go in chronological order. So I Googled it, and it was like 2018 or 2020. And I was like, you know what? I remember 2020 more because it pissed me the fuck off. There's so many spots that are missed. You don't get two main people. I can say it because these guys lasted less than a minute.
You don't get the Kofi.
You don't get Kofi. You don't get John Morrison.
Yeah, you get nothing. Yeah, there's no fun in it.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Like
this is a prime example of what's bad about Rumbles.
I've never seen one that's dominated for this long either. They sat there saying, this is going to be the quickest Rumble. And I looked at Mongo and I'm like, there's still a minute and
it's still, there's still time in between. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, you can go ahead. I'll yield to you.
Oh, so a quick Brock Lesnar story. One of the first house shows that I went to was Brock Lesnar was in Ohio Valley Wrestling, and he was wrestling Crash Holly, and he beat Crash Holly with a body slam, like a big scoop slam, and but when Crash Holly comes out, Brock Lesnar's in the ring, they're introducing each other, and this guy in front of us, the whole reason this whole thing stinks out was this guy in front of us turns around and he goes, "Who's Bob Henry fighting?" And I was like, nobody. He's neither of those people. But and then 2 weeks later, Brock Lesnar debuted, but he was fighting Crash Holly, to see he's another one of those guys, like tiny little guy, like to see the monster he is now, like Jesus.
Crash Holly? He's dead.
No. Well, yeah, he's not doing so well. That's a body transformation.
Our condolences.
That's what I was like, wait, you're like, see Crash Holly now? I'm like, he passed away.
No, I meant Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar. Oh. That he's to look, Jesus Christ.
So I'm gonna play off this as well. Brock Lesnar does not look like a human. He looks like some mutant that drank like some juice, So
he looks like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle villain.
He does. Sheamus did well in that movie, but they should have picked Brock. He does not look like a human. He's so fucked up from his matches. I don't like looking at him. He's not aesthetically pleasing to look at. He's scary looking. His tattoos are awful. They use those for graphics. The hell? You literally, if that tattoo was on a female, it would not look like a sword. So
it still doesn't look like a sword.
Yeah.
He's got a penis on his chest.
I've never really understood why I don't like Brock Lesnar.
I do.
Aside from this kind of stuff, you can't land any of his moves safely, especially when you're getting thrown out of the ring by him. I don't care for his giant push because I didn't know that he wrestled previous to 2014-15. So when he came out as this big deal, I was like, who the hell is he? He's like silly putty. He looks like someone mushed silly putty. You're welcome. If you're watching this on video, you guys can see the reactions to that. He looks like you were trying to make somebody out of silly putty instead of Play-Doh.
I just put it on like a newspaper on the comics trying to get Garfield with my silly putty. I don't know the fuck you with silly putty.
Squeezing it. You just squeezed it. And it cracked. Probably like his ears. Squeeze them and they crack.
So
on other news.
So then Elias comes out.
Yeah.
Yeah, can we just list these real quick?
Yeah, this is how quick they went. Elias comes out, he's gone in a minute. Eric Rowan with that robotic spider, he's gone in 8 seconds, which they made a Warlord. God, it's a horrible name to say together. Reference, but Santino still holds the record. Robert Roode comes out, he's gone. John Morrison, yep, you're gone. Kofi lasts 5 minutes, but he's still gone. Rey Mysterio comes out, lasts 2 minutes and 54 seconds. Where were you in 2006, Brock? Yeah, Big E, he gets thrown out. Cesaro gets thrown out. Shelton Benjamin and him, like they act like they're friends. They're like hugging and they're talking about, oh, they used to be buddies and roommates and wrestled. And they do that awkwardly long hug that he gets thrown out. Former Royal Rumble winner Shinsuke Nakamura, oh, yeah, you're gone. But then you have fresh off the Jericho Cruise. I was marking out because I just taken a shot with him and talked to him for a good hour on the cruise. MVP returns and a really cool Black Panther get up. His attire, he finally is not a Power Ranger. But
yeah, I like his attire, but I don't like him. I've never been a fan of him. I don't understand the allure of him. I mean, I was like, oh, cool, he's the guy. Yeah, but I did like Brock Lesnar dancing to his. I like him, Brock Lesnar dancing to his theme though. I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, he was like jamming out to it. It was great. I think I was more a fan of the person. I was excited, like, hey, I just had a drink with him, and because literally all we talked about when I was talking with him was him and Matt Hardy's basketball tournament. I was like, everyone's talking about like WrestleMania and the ladder match. I'm like, I want to talk about you guys playing basketball in that funny segment where you guys were like having a best of 7, and Matt Fax were just making fun of you. Like Matt Hardy can make more 3-posts than MVP, like things like that.
I always love that.
He was just funny to talk to. Then he comes out and like, yeah, and then he gets thrown out like, well, I guess you should. It reminds me of Bart Simpson. Like, at least you tried. Like, Kate comes out like, at least you tried.
Well, the next person got to showcase.
Yep. Then Bearcat Lee comes out, aka Keith Lee. He comes out, and it seems like he's going to be the one to kind of slow down Brock, which is good. And then you have Braun Strowman come out, who fresh off Applebee's. He comes out, lasts about a minute and a half. Sorry, I can't stand Braun Strowman, Mister. Oh, I've never wrestled anywhere else except when I wrestled in CON at Applebee's in North Carolina.
One thing I was thinking about while I was watching that, because Keith Lee's a big guy, Braun Strowman's a big guy, Brock Lesnar obviously a big guy, right? Like, it must be weird for them as a big guy to take like a belly back suplex, German suplex, because that's not who normally does that to them. Nobody. Some of these moves must be like real weird, and for Brock Lesnar to be just doing it and then being able to execute like no problem, but it's got to be uncomfortable as all can be.
It's crazy to see Brock Lesnar's career because it's like two different Lesnars. So if you watch like the 2002 to 2004, so yeah, it's only a 2-year run when he breaks his face and everything. Watch how athletic he was though, like in the OVWs. Mm-hmm. He hit that shooting star press before. Mm-hmm. He would take a suplex. He would actually take moves. Brock Lesnar 2016 on's like, no, I don't sell for no one unless I like them.
Yeah.
And just like destroyed everyone. So like you said, yeah, Keith Lee getting a German suplex, you're like, mother of God, that's gotta hurt. And Brock ain't letting him down lightly. He's just releasing him. He's like, good luck, everyone.
Ricochet, I thought that was clever. He jumps up onto the top rope and flies over at him off the turnbuckle. Makes a little more sense, you got to get him.
But here's what I'm saying. How come no one's ever done this to Ricochet? He jumps on the top rope, so he just goes, push. Like the whole
Right.
point, you're supposed to go over the top rope. Oh, that's easy. You're out.
Well, yeah. I mean, shit. How many people did it take for us to see somebody pull the Undertaker off the top rope? You know,
Oh my god!
you don't need to be for years. I'll just let you do that. Yeah. Oh, all right.
Right. I could really get ranting if I talk about his Hell's Gate submission.
Oh dear
So
God.
they announced the
Doesn't
next
do anything.
person. And as he's coming out, they go, soon to be Rumble winner, Drew McIntyre.
Well, like,
The fuck?
right? I remember watching that back in the day,
Really?
like 3 years ago. Yeah, they were like, "Oh, here's Drew McIntyre, soon to be Royal Rumble winner." Like they said it in a commentary. It's like, well,
Oh, I completely missed that.
You spoiled it, and it's like I had a feeling that he was going to win anyway because they were hyping up Drew versus Brock Lesnar for the title. The rumors were Drew's going to get his WrestleMania moment, blah blah blah. He's going to get his flowers, and then he eliminates Brock Lesnar. Yep, there it is. He threw Brock out. He's winning. He's going to Mania. That was just formality. But this is where I think the Rumble kind of changed. It went from like one Rumble to okay, now I actually like this Royal Rumble.
Yeah, well, the thing so right after that, Drew's like he eliminates a few people, and then he's like staring at Brock Lesnar. That's like, all right, obviously we know, like this is clearly what's going to happen, you know. But rewatching these Rumbles, like Drew McIntyre, like to see that little like babyface kid that he was, to now he's this Scottish psychopath, whatever. It's unbelievable. He's prime example of if you shave, it'll come back darker and thicker. He's a completely different guy.
The broken dreams.
Yeah.
But yeah, also prime example of how everyone had to go to like Impact for a while until they got released and come back to impress Vince.
Mm-hmm.
But now still one person away. Heath Slater needs to come back and win the title, and the 3MB prophecy will be fulfilled. That everyone in three-man band will have been a world champion.
Yeah.
That is the prophecy.
He's too busy.
They've all got fired and come back and won a title. And as Brock Lesnar famously said, I don't give a shit about your kids. Then you have the Miz come out. He lasts about 30 seconds. I feel like he's
like the Miz
time in all the Rumbles. I love the Miz though.
I hated him in the beginning because he was the MTV guy. I was like, fuck that, but like to look and see what he's done in his career, like he really is like one of those, like if you stick to your dreams, like you can get to it because he's done an amazing career. Amazing.
And he's put the work in. Like he's tried to improve on the mic and the ring, earn the respect of everyone. Honestly,
consistent.
Him and Jericho, if you want to talk about greatest intercontinental champions of all time, him and Jericho have to be there. He had
hands down.
He had 8 title runs. Jericho had 9. They need to give him the record. Jericho wouldn't care. Jericho would tell you to give him the record, or at least tie it. So it's a shame.
Speaking of record, that's one of the things that I hated is Brock ties the record for eliminations in a Rumble. Like I hate it. Like Kane, I feel like has done so much for the Rumble itself that like he deserves that. He deserves to have a record something. And I hate for Brock to get it, and then eventually Roman Reigns to beat it. I hate it. I hated it for Kane.
Kane always kind of got shafted.
Yeah.
Then you have AJ Styles coming out, which all it does is give me flashbacks to the worst camera angles, because that's exactly what I'm going to rant about a little later, but keep that in the back of your mind. Then you have Dolph Ziggler come out, your favorite wrestler, Emily's favorite former ex-husband, Dolph Ziggler. He comes out.
I hate Dolph Ziggler.
Carl Anderson comes out. You're going to break Emily's heart.
No, he said he is the wished version of HBK. All right? Down to the tights, the blonde hair, the cells, the freaking finisher, like everything about him. Terrible. Knock off freaking HBK.
Fair. You have Carl Anderson come out. So the ring's kind of filled up a little bit. Now it's a Rumble again. And then I remember this next person coming out. I had heard rumors, but again, I try to get too much into dirt sheets because I don't like to have everything ruined. But this was all over social media, people like, oh, I think he's coming back tonight. I was like, Edge retired. He ain't coming back. Stop it. I just got a pro wrestling crate, and one of the surprise shirts of the month was Edge. Emily's like, you're taking me to breakfast. It's Rumble Sunday. We need breakfast while we cook dinner and stuff for it. I'm like, all right, fine. I remember I'm wearing my Edge shirt. We're at breakfast, and she's like, so do you really think he's coming? I was like, I'm a wrestling fan. I'm used to disappointment. Even if he doesn't, I got a sweet shirt out of the deal. And I just remember when that music hit, I don't think I've ever marked out as much as I did when Edge made his return. I was like, holy shit. Like, I didn't think he would, because when he retired in 2011, like when he's like my neck, like I was heartbroken. I was like, but he's back.
I was always an Edge fan. Loved him. Him coming out. He's the only one in the freaking Rumble that gets pyro. Like the emotional over space. It's one of the clips that, like, to this day, I still get goosebumps. Like, it's amazing. Loved it.
And this is where my gripe comes in with fucking Wormtail Weasley looking fuck Kevin Dunn doesn't know how to do camera angles. So you already fuck up AJ Styles when he debuted at the Rumble. You had your camera on Roman the entire time. Roman going like this, like looking all like confused. Edge re-debuts. He hits that first spear, and Kevin Dunn's looking at the fucking crowd. Like, why?
Yeah.
Why was the camera not on the action? And then they must have said something to him, because then he just immediately spears someone else. You're like, what the actual fuck? And then you have boring Corbin come in because everyone who wins, as I told them, the rule of wrestling, everyone who wins the King of the Ring has to be called king. Matt Riddle come out, who they were basically just like, he's not what he looks like. It's like, no, he looks like the stoner from NXT that you've been promoting the entire time. And but what I thought was interesting was Corbin hits the end of days on Edge, but he is so gentle with it. If you go back and watch, he hits the end of days, but as he's like laying down the slam, he like sets him down and he like looks at him because he's so scared. Like, I don't want to be the motherfucker to injure him. Like, I don't want to hurt this guy. Like,
right,
that is the softest finisher. So I got to give a lot of respect to Baron Corbin for understanding. Like, I got to protect this man. Like, I don't want to hurt this man, because I give Baron Corbin a lot of shit, but that was pretty classy.
I love his finisher. I love Deep Six. I love the end of days. Everything about him is, is shit. But I love those two moves. Yeah, he's fantastic. And Matt Riddle, another one I don't care for. Never did. I didn't like him when he was in the Ultimate Fighter. I don't like him now. Just, I get it. Cool, man. That's your gimmick. But
tried so hard. I liked RK Bro because they were funny, but I liked it because of Randy Orton. And because I had to get the shirt because it said RK Bro 420, so it was like the RVD shirt. But I've tried to like Matt Riddle, but he's just not a likable dude, even outside the ring. Like, I'm not going to go into details, but he makes horrible life choices, and I'm just good. And his gimmick is just, there's only so much time you hear, bruh, like,
right.
He just reminds me of that stereotypical, like, whenever they made a PSA about weed, like, careful, your friend's gonna be a pothead. Bro, check it out. I can like taste colors, man. And it's like purple. You get it. But then you have Festus, he comes out. Then you have aka Luke Gallows. We have Randy Orton comes out, as we know, Kenny's all-time favorite Hall of Famer. And Randy stays in a while until Edge, obviously setting up that feud that he would have a backlash with him. He eliminates Randy Orton and Gallows. Then you have Roman Reigns come out. Man, that place turned on Reigns. The dude didn't get the ring before those boo birds were screaming.
Can I just say real quick? Here is that they already wrestled.
Mm-hmm.
So Baron Corbin and Roman both already wrestled. Is your roster that small? There's people in catering. Pull them out. We know Vince isn't good with that.
Vince is not good at pulling out. That's why you pay all the hush money.
And can I just throw it out there?
Vince's child, let us know.
The Magic Killer is a weak sauce finisher. It is a
horrible finisher.
I mean, what the heck is that? Jesus.
And like the spin at the end, like it's not even needed. Like it's like we're gonna go.
None of it. It's a sideways suplex.
At least the big rig, like the FTR finisher, at least it looks like they're driving their knees in your face while you're getting air driven out of you.
Right.
At least it looks like that would suck.
Right.
I agree. That finishes have to look good. Then you have Kevin Owens come out, and you have Malachi / Aleister Black, whatever we're calling it. We have Samoa Joey, he comes out, and then Seth Franklin Rollins comes out. So now it's pretty much loaded, and it's just getting the ring thinned down. But you have Seth Rollins cheating to set the WrestleMania match, so he has Tokar and Razor, aka Kevin Reeser, and take out Kevin Owens.
That got me.
And then you have Seth Rollins. I guess you have Seth Rollins taking out Black and Joe, and then it's pretty much down to Edge and Drew McIntyre and Rollins, and you kind of know what the finish is here with Roman, so you think, it's going to go to Roman, it's going to go to Roman, but Edge and Roman get on the apron, and Roman, to the loudest boos of the night, eliminates Edge, but then Drew McIntyre eliminates Roman to win, go on to WrestleMania with no crowd.
Mm-hmm. I do not care for the Shield. I didn't like them as a team. I hated what they did with them as individuals. They just every week stuffed the three of them down your throat every single week, and then they eventually just fizzled out. And one of the things that I hated was that they're just slapping titles on them, and Seth Rollins, all three members of the Shield are Grand Slam champions, but they're on a list with people like Eddie Guerrero and, Rey Mysterio. Does that seem like they put in the same amount of time? It bothers me when people come in and they're just going to be, and I think that's what Brock Lesnar is doing now is, where he comes in and they just slam Brock down your throat. Like, there's only so much we can take, and eventually that's what happened with Roman Reigns. Everyone just stopped liking him because there's only so much of him you can take, and they did it with all three of them.
And I think that's what's hard with Vince's Superman booking. It's the Hulk Hogan effect. He sees someone who makes money. He knows fans can be fickle. I'll be the first to admit it. I flip-flop on some of my wrestling opinions, but the general consensus, when 99% of your crowd's like, fuck this guy, it's go away heat, you don't keep him going. They finally did the right thing. Because, John Cena was that, a more recent example of, I like John Cena when he was the rapper and he was like the Vanilla Ice making fun of people like what Max Caster does. But then they were like, now he's Superman. Nobody can touch him. Nobody can beat him. He's going to go to his match. He's going to Hulk up. He's going to win. They're doing that with Roman. Then they were smart to turn him heel. But now everyone loves him again. It's like, no, you like the bloodline because it's comedy, because Sammy's funny. Mm-hmm. But I'm so sick of seeing the Usos having 4 titles. I'm so sick of Roman having 2 titles.
I hate that in every sport, every thing where titles are like that. When you have one person that has every title, I don't care for it, because what does that tell you for everybody else?
And then it just looks you in a corner.
If only Brady got a Super Bowl ring and everybody else on the Patriots teams didn't, that's how I would feel. I'd feel terrible being part of the roster, knowing that compared to 3 people on there, I am lower.
And then it sets you up whenever you do a Superman run, like with Hogan. Jake Snake Roberts kind of got screwed because of Hogan's dominance. You have a Bray Wyatt or even a Cody Rhodes that kind of got screwed because of John Cena. You had a lot of stars that kind of got pushed to the back burner because it wasn't their time yet.
Well, look what they did with Bray Wyatt. Reigns. I mean, he was wasted basically for his entire WWE run because of Seth Rollins or Brock Lesnar or Roman Reigns. One of the 3 of them had the title. They create this gigantic fiend match, and he's supposed to be this unstoppable thing. And then Seth Rollins beats him by disqualification in a Hell in a Cell, and it's like the end of him. He's just a regular old guy now.
So if you look at this perspective, this is WrestleMania 39. WrestleMania 31 was Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns with Seth Rollins cashing in. It's 8 years later. Roman's still champion and Brock's still in contention for the title. So that's what's always kind of bothered me. Is you can't rely on so many people because now Roman's a part-timer. So he wrestles every other week on SmackDown. at least show up. So at least with the Royal Rumbles, they need to do something to kind of push, because that's what the Royal Rumble should be. It should be to push that next star. Drew McIntyre was a great person to win it. His reign fizzled up because it had nothing to do with him with the belt. Then at Clash of the Castle, he had the perfect opportunity to take it back in his hometown, take one of the belts off Roman, and it would have elevated Drew McIntyre again. And they were just like, nah, no, we want Roman to win. But he never wins clean.
They could have.
He's a heel.
They could have put it right back on him the next day, and he loses nothing.
And there could have been easier ways to do it too. Like he did a surprise roll up, and Roman wasn't paying attention. Solo came in. There's so many ways.
Right. It doesn't.
They're
have
booking
to be
themselves
clean.
into a corner because now if Cody doesn't do it, who's going to beat Roman? Because you've already gone through the entire roster. Like Kevin Owens is fighting him again, and then everybody's like, "Oh, he doesn't have a chance because he got screwed last time." So we could do a whole episode on that. But I agree with you 100% that I want the Royal to be a star maker and help give someone that rocket ship to the next level, because I want the roster. Like people crap on AEW because it's got a bloated roster, but they rotate their matches. So to see, okay, which people are rising to that level, which people can carry these titles, like Darby Allin getting his TNT title back, like he can carry that TV title because he wants to wrestle every week. WWE, Gunther, whatever you want to call him, he's been phenomenal as the Intercontinental Champion because he wants to wrestle every week. It's the workhorse title. When you put a title on a champion who doesn't want to wrestle, it makes the title meaningless, in my opinion. So definitely had fun running those. I think out of these three, though, I got to pick 2002 for my favorite out of the three because it's one of my favorites.
The star power is there.
Absolutely.
We know it's yours because you picked it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, of the three of them, they all have something fantastic to offer for each one of them. It's just, I love that era was just, it's just so nostalgic. It's what I know. It's what I love.
I hope we see a lot of showcasing this year because of where there are so many people that make are bigger.
So I think quickly to wrap it up, because I've been wanting to do this. I don't want to obviously take more of your time, so that we've killed 2 hours of your time.
Oh, no worries.
And I think quickly we're gonna do some trivia here that we're gonna make as a bonus episode. So we're gonna end this one, and then we're gonna do our bonus episode. So stay tuned. So until next time, I'm Mongo.
And I'm Emily.
And we have the One Ken Kacey with us, and this is Cruising with Kayfabe.